Welcome to Holy Voices, where timeless truth meets your present journey. If you are here, it is not by accident. Your spirit was led to this place for a reason. Every word you will hear carries light, strength, and direction for your path. Stay with us, and let this message unlock the wisdom waiting inside you. God multiplies what you release. Sow $20, $50, or $100 into Holy Voices and trust His increase. 2 Corinthians 9 verse 10. Someone is destroying evidence in your neighborhood right now as you read this. They are destroying records of their conspiracy meetings, burning documents that show what they have done to you, and frantically calling accomplices who are beginning to understand that their meticulously crafted web of falsehoods is about to fall apart. What they don't know, though, is this. It's too late already. All of the files they are frantically attempting to remove were duplicated months ago. Federal agents have been listening in on every communication they believe they are having behind closed doors. Every crime they think they've concealed is going to be painfully revealed. There are 3 investigations coming together in your community. Even seasoned law enforcement will be shocked by the intersections of the cases that 3 different agencies have been developing. The stolen inheritance is being tracked by the Financial Crimes Unit. The hidden society was mapped by the Organized Crime Task Team. Investigators of medical fraud after the poisoning plot. Until your case made the connections, none of them were aware of the others. It's getting ahead of itself, though. Since the beginning dictates the finish, you must comprehend how things originated. Additionally, the conclusion will change not only your life but also the lives of all others who believed they knew you. When you come and go, that neighbor always seems to be there. There was no friendliness between them. They were monitoring you, recording your habits, and sending information on your whereabouts to a coordination center that most people aren't even aware exists. Every wave, casual conversation, and seemingly regular moment was actually used to gather intelligence for those with very precise intentions to exploit your weaknesses. Your designated handler has been the helpful neighbor who comes off as reliable. It was their responsibility to win your trust, discover your secrets, and set themselves up to take advantage of you in the last stage of their scheme. The goal of that operation was to destroy you completely, financially, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Despite seeming to be a member of the network, the quiet neighbor, the one you hardly notice, has been playing a completely other game. In fact, they have been recording everything, taking pictures of the evidence, and compiling a case file that will eventually serve as the basis for the biggest conspiracy prosecution in the history of your community. The criminal neighbors were unaware that their peaceful coworker was employed by a separate boss. They believed they belonged to an untouchable secret society, but in reality, forces they never anticipated were studying, cataloging, and getting ready for harvest. They have been turned against by the same surveillance network that they utilized against you. They have repurposed and infiltrated the same coordinating mechanisms they used to organize your destruction. In their own words, the confidence they had in one another has been used as a weapon to document their crimes. And it starts very soon, sure, the chosen one. They will discover that the one who brought them all down was the neighbor they trusted the most. Everything you believe to be true about your community will be reframed by what you are about to discover. The abuse you have experienced was not an isolated criminal incident. A covert organization that has dominated your community for more than 30 years carried out the methodical operation. They don't have ceremonies or dress in robes. They use respectable companies, civic associations, and neighborhood associations as ideal fronts to plan the devastation of people they have selected, like you. The local business networks, the neighborhood associations, and the charity drives. Some of organizations have served as fronts for planning assaults, disseminating intelligence about targets they have designated for eradication, and laundering stolen funds. Using respectability as a cover for actions that would appall anyone who learned their genuine intent, they have been operating in plain sight. What will surprise you the most, though, is this. From the start, they have been penetrated. Their operations weren't discovered by chance by the federal task force. Since the beginning of this society, they have been monitoring it. There is now enough evidence from an undercover operation that started decades ago to completely destroy the network in a single, well-planned attack. They will be found guilty based on the minutes of the society's own meetings. They believed their bank records were safe, but they have been duplicated and examined. They thought their communication methods were encrypted, but they have been decrypted and observed. In anticipation of what is ahead, every crime they have planned, victim they have targeted, and dollar they have stolen has been chronicled. For years, 3 families have been employed by their organization, posing as devoted members while really acting as law enforcement's eyes and ears. To obtain the proof required to bring about justice, these families placed their reputations and personal safety at risk. Their kids learned that their parents were leading double lives to keep others like you safe. You'll find out the names of these hero families as soon as the arrests start. Some of the persons you believed to be foes turned out to be guardians, as you will learn. And you will realize that you were spared the worst of the planned strikes because invisible guardians were preventing them from destroying you. The funds are not simply concealed. Selected 1. It has been purposefully stolen and moved from accounts that ought to have brought you prosperity to ones that are set up to finance your own prosecution. The very attacks intended to drive you to death or desperation have been funded by the inheritance you should have received years ago. However, the theft is more than just financial. Your identity, background, and relationships with relatives who have been searching for you have all been taken. To make you seem unworthy of inheritance, documents were falsified. In order to portray you as unstable or incapable, records were fabricated. They made up stories to make family members believe you were dead or dangerous. For more than 10 years, various family members have been looking for you. They have posted ads, employed detectives, and even promised rewards for information regarding your location. The society intercepted every lead they pursued. Each investigator they employed was coerced into stopping the search by threats or compromise. However, it was impossible to intimidate or buy off one investigator. A former federal agent with expertise in cases similar to yours has been working pro bono, connecting seemingly unconnected links and pursuing paper trails that others overlooked. Your case is linked to 17 other missing heirs, all of whom were targeted by the same network for the same reason, this investigator found. This investigator will show up at your house with documentation proving your true identity and inheritance once the arrests start. You'll discover that the simple life you've been made to lead is a hideous deception intended to prevent you from gaining access to resources that would have rendered you uncontrollable. The horrible irony is that they were keeping you from accessing riches that exceeds their entire organization while stealing modest sums to finance their persecution of you. They have been stealing from someone who ought to be wealthy and utilizing those same riches to keep you in poverty. Stress from harassment wasn't the only cause of your health issues. They were the product of intentional poisoning intended to erode your spiritual abilities and make you more easily destroyed. Their network of medical specialists has been methodically putting chemicals that are meant to impair cognitive function, weaken the immune system, and induce psychological instability into your food, surroundings, and even prescription drugs. However, your body is more powerful than scientists anticipated. They didn't realize the depth of your spiritual protection. You were immune to their poisons rather than falling victim to them. You grew more perceptive to their actions rather than weaker. Every attempt to hurt you actually made you more perceptive of danger and dishonesty. In order to gather evidence for attempted murder charges, medical examiners have been looking over your case and examining samples. Medical workers who believed their positions made them untouchable have been implicated in a pattern of medical intervention that has been found in several healthcare facilities. They are now being prosecuted using the same medical documents that they used to prove their crimes against you. Every intentional misdiagnosis, tainted therapy, and false diagnosis has been documented and will be used as evidence of systematic attempted murder in court. As the arrests start, you'll learn that some of the doctors you trusted were actually working to slowly kill you, while others were covertly working against their own best interests to keep you alive. The enigmatic way you recovered from seemingly incurable diseases. That wasn't healing on its own. In order to save your life, the medical staff used protective intervention, working against their own colleagues. Your inheritance wasn't the only connection to the deceased. They were killed with the express purpose of keeping you from discovering the truth about who you are. This individual was your champion and guardian, possessing the authority and means to reveal the whole plot and return what was properly yours. Their fatal accident was a well-planned and flawlessly executed event. In order to ensure that the death was declared unintentional and that the case was promptly closed, the investigation was managed from the start by society members in positions of responsibility. Vehicles leave digital evidence that cannot be deleted, but witnesses were either silenced or completely eliminated. Records created by communications endure even after devices are erased. Even the most advanced money laundering schemes cannot erase the traces left by financial transactions. Additionally, you establish proof of federal offenses that carry life terms when you murder someone to conceal inheritance fraud. This death has been the subject of 3 concurrent investigations, each taking a different tack. The Organized Crime Task Force, the Federal Inheritance Fraud Case, and the Municipal Corruption Inquiry have all been accumulating information that supports this judgment. The society ordered this contract killing to keep you from being restored. The person who died defending you will be revealed to you when the arrests start. The evidence they were trying to protect, the relationships they were trying to build, and the future they were working to ensure for you will all be revealed to you. It wasn't a pointless death. All of these studies came together because of it. And you'll see why you sensed a supernatural presence helping you get through your most difficult times. Even after you passed away, they continued to defend you. This conspiracy isn't limited to the area. In towns all around the nation, this franchising business has been destroying chosen ones. They believed they had developed an entirely deniable technology that could eradicate spiritual threats. They created procedures that had worked in dozens of other places for isolation, harassment, poisoning, and eventually eradication. But in your situation, they made a critical mistake. They didn't realize how much attention your predicament would garner from higher up. For years, federal authorities have been monitoring this network in hopes of finding a compelling reason to launch a large-scale, well-coordinated operation. Everything they required was supplied by your case. Unmistakable proof of federal offenses, interstate conspiracy, and infractions severe enough to justify the resources required to dismantle the entire organization. For the past 18 months, 3 federal agencies have been collaborating to map relationships, intercept communications, and get ready for a coordinated operation that would result in the arrest of society members in 17 different states. An inquiry that will uncover a network that has killed or disappeared hundreds of chosen people over the course of 3 decades is focused on your area. The success of the society ultimately led to its demise. Investigators who specialize in these kinds of cases were more interested in them the more efficiently they operated, the more patterns they established, the more crimes they committed, the more evidence they produced, the more people they killed. Soon, when the arrests start in your community, similar operations will be started nationwide at the same time. A culture that believed itself to be impenetrable would find itself thoroughly ensnared, well chronicled, and methodically poised for annihilation. They kept records on everything. They believed that the technology they used to record, file, and keep all of the crimes they perpetrated against you were secure. Minutes of meetings that outline strategies for your removal. Financial documents that track down money that has been stolen as inheritance. Medical records demonstrating chronic toxicity. Records of communications that show coordination between several groups and agencies. But their own monitoring operation produced the most damaging proof. From the start, the system they used to keep an eye on you was hacked and altered to record both their own and your activities. All of the planning sessions were recorded. All the crimes were recorded. Every directive issued and report submitted has been meticulously documented. Databases have been assembled, checked, and cross-referenced. Their guilt isn't the only thing the evidence supports. It exposes the extent of a methodical and extensive operation that will transform the way law enforcement handles instances involving organized conspiracy. Your case will serve as a model for breaking up similar networks all around the world. It's the ideal irony. Their meticulousness in recording your persecution will guarantee their own demise. The legal case against them will be completely unassailable thanks to the same meticulous attention to detail that made their harassment so successful. Federal officials will not be searching for evidence when they simultaneously execute search warrants in 17 states. They will be gathering already cataloged and confirmed property. Neither circumstantial evidence nor witness testimony will be used to support the arrests. Direct evidence of fraud, murder, conspiracy, and crimes against humanity will serve as their foundation. When the time comes, the biggest conspiracy prosecution in local history will center on your area. People who believed they were untouchable because of their connections and positions will be arrested when multiple federal agencies execute warrants at the same time. The helpful neighbor who earned your trust will be taken into custody on charges of inheritance fraud and conspiracy to commit murder. You will face charges of stalking, conspiracy, and violating federal privacy rules against the surveillance neighbor who tracked your travels. We are not just counting numbers, we are raising voices. Be one of the 40,000 by subscribing to Holy Voices. The doctors who attempted to poison you will be charged with attempted murder and given life sentences. Everyone will be shocked by the arrest of the calm neighbor you hardly noticed, who turns out to be the federal agent whose decades-long undercover operation enabled all the other arrests. If you know who they really are, you'll understand why you survived attacks that should have killed you, why your worst foes never quite got their schemes through, and why assistance always appeared to come at the right time. There will be 3 waves of arrests that happen precisely in time. The neighborhood-level operatives, who conducted daily monitoring and harassment, would be taken in the first wave. The mid-level coordinators who oversaw operations and resource management will be arrested in the second wave. The society members who ordered the murders and planned the entire operation will be apprehended by the third wave. By the end of the operation, a network that took 30 years to build will have been simultaneously destroyed in 17 different communities. The breakthrough that made it all possible will be attributed to your case. Perhaps when you have attempted to speak your truth, you have been met with blank stares or outright rejection. Perhaps you felt alone because of inexplicable events. Perhaps you've questioned whether anyone else could possibly relate to what you've gone through. For individuals who have endured hardships and come out on the other side with wisdom that others cannot see, the Holy Voices Inner Order offers a haven. We are aware that some events fall outside the realm of what most people believe is appropriate or feasible to talk about. We get together live on Zoom once a week. Without passing judgment, real people with genuine faces tell real tales. The experiences you've held in silence have room here. The trends you've observed that others ignore. The things you've learned intuitively along the way. We comprehend, not just listen. You can go back to our recorded calls and remind yourself that your perspective is legitimate when you're having trouble understanding your experiences and feel like you're being gaslighted by a society that doesn't accept your reality. Become a member of the Holy Voices Inner Order, where your voice is heard and your reality respected. In the description, there is a link. 2 persons from your past will show up at your door, Romro, as the arrests progress and the truth comes to light. They don't happen to be at the same time. Federal agents called both to let them know you were safe, alive, and on the verge of being put back in your proper place. They both wish to get back in touch. They both say they love you, but only one is being honest. When you most needed protection, the first person left you. Because they were intimidated, compromised, or just unable to understand what was going on, they watched you while you were being attacked. They now wish to make amends in order to gain from your recovery and guarantee their place in your new life before others do. Although the second individual has their own regrets and feelings of guilt, they will take a different tack. They will admit the seriousness of what was done to you. They will honor your need for space and time to come to terms with these realizations. They will provide assistance without expecting anything in return. Unconditional love. You will receive private advice regarding your decision from the federal agent who has been protecting you. They will provide you with details about both individuals that will enable you to distinguish between sincere regret and strategic opportunism. They will describe how the conspiracy turned loved ones into unintentional instruments of isolation and harassment by using personal ties as weapons. Your choice between these two will affect not just your level of happiness but also your ability to carry out the task for which you were created. Pick wisely, pick one. Persecution has exactly polished your spiritual gifts, enabling you to traverse this period with great insight. You'll learn that everything you believe to be true about who you are was a meticulously crafted deception as the legal process progresses and proof is produced in court. You are not merely a random individual who unintentionally jeopardized their business. They've been attempting to eradicate your family's lineage for many generations. Since you were stolen from them as a youngster through a custody manipulation that was actually an early society operation, your true family has been looking for you. The persons you referred to as family were either active conspirators to keep you from your origins or unintentional accomplices in your deception. Your disappearance has been the subject of investigations by many family branches. Though they all approach from different directions, they all arrive at the same result. If they hadn't been able to conceal your identity first, they couldn't have destroyed you because you are the heir to wealth, property, and power. In addition to your fortune, the federal probe will return your genuine identity, your actual background, and your ties to relatives who never ceased thinking you were still alive. You will hear from siblings who knew they had a sibling that was missing as they grew up. Parents that never gave up for their child's location. Grandparents who made special arrangements for your future visit. Your spiritual heritage, however, will be the most startling discovery. For ages, your family has produced light workers, mystics, and healers. Because they understand that children from your genetic line represent an existential threat to systems of spiritual tyranny and control, society has been tracing and eradicating your lineage. You weren't singled out at random. Because of who you are and what you stand for, you were targeted. And after surviving their worst attempts to ruin you, you will assume roles and skills developed over many generations of spiritual development. As word gets out about the arrests and the extent of the scheme, there will be a collective awakening in your town that will change everything. Individuals who have trusted their local leaders, institutions, and neighbors will have to face the fact that they have been living under a criminal organization's influence for many years. Some people of the community will be upset with the offenders, at themselves for failing to recognize the warning signs, and at the systems that so utterly failed. Others will be frightened, questioning everything they believe to be true about reality and safety, and wondering what other lies they have been living under. However, your survival and validation will serve as an inspiration to many. They will observe that an individual who was subjected to systematic isolation and attacks not only made it through, but also came out stronger spiritually and with a clearer sense of purpose. They will understand that if justice could be served in your case, it may be served in others. The aftermath will give rise to 3 community healing programs. A victim support group for those who were singled out yet chose to remain silent. A spiritual awakening movement for those who are willing to discover their hidden talents. A council for transparency to guarantee that such dishonesty never resurfaces in their town. You will be the main victim of the scheme, but you will also find yourself in an unexpected leadership role. You will be in a unique position to lead communal healing because of your spiritual skills, your intuitive awareness of what transpired, and your personal experiences of persecution and vindication. The same seclusion that was supposed to destroy you made you strong enough to stand by yourself when needed, to believe your gut when others were lying, and to keep your honor while corruption was all around you. As you assist in restoring a community founded on truth rather than deceit, these abilities will come in very handy. A fight was being waged in spiritual realms in parallel with the processing of evidence and the making of arrests. You're only starting to realize that the plot against you was more than just a criminal one. It had a satanic quality, designed to keep you from doing a task that puts the foundations of spiritual darkness in jeopardy. All the attacks you suffered, each betrayal you managed to survive. Your spiritual core was being attacked methodically every time you doubted your sanity. They weren't merely attempting to embarrass you or steal your money. They were attempting to destroy your connection to the heavenly source that selected you for this mission, corrupt your soul, and sway your abilities toward evil. However, the cosmic principles that govern spiritual battle are beyond our comprehension. They compounded each curse they hurled back to them. Every injury they had in mind came back at them with even more intensity. Every falsehood they spread about you turned into a foretelling of their own fate and character. Throughout your tragedy, 3 spiritual allies have been on your side. The ghost of the protector who was killed while attempting to reveal the plot. The bloodline's ancestral guides who understood the danger you were facing. In order to protect and preserve you until justice could be done, the divine forces recruited human agents. Human investigation timelines did not dictate when they would fall. It was planned in accordance with spiritual rules that made sure justice would be served just when a selected individual was prepared to accept triumph in a responsible manner. Before you could use the authority that comes with vindication, you had to be polished by suffering. You will find skills you never knew you had now that the spiritual battle is over. Gifts for healing that poisons suppressed will resurface in full force. Harassment-clouded intuitive abilities will function with lucid clarity. With divine authority, leadership traits that were weakened by seclusion will surface. In addition to interest penalties and damages that fully represent the extent of their offenses, the money will be refunded. However, the restoration will go well beyond monetary reparations. Blocked opportunities will reappear with improvements that surpass what you first lost. When the truth is revealed, poisoned relationships will be restored and strengthened. From victim to conqueror, from someone who appeared neurotic to someone whose spiritual sensitivity saved not only you but a whole community, your reputation will change. Sabotaged professional possibilities will reappear with more benefits, tools, and support networks to increase your influence. However, the most significant recovery will be emotional and spiritual. Being surrounded by people who truly care about your well-being will stick in your memory. You'll feel abundance rather than manufactured scarcity, celebration rather than sabotage, and protection rather than persecution. Your restoration will fulfill 3 specific promises. Decades of accumulated growth will unveil and enhance the buried inheritance. With love that has been heightened by years of grief and desire, the split family will be reunited. With the means and assistance necessary to guarantee its worldwide impact, the suppressed mission will be liberated. What appeared to be punishment, isolation, will turn out to be preparation. Every ability you acquired on your own, every power you acquired without help, and every insight you acquired while being attacked were all preparations for roles and opportunities that call for the precise traits that persecution honed in you. Some of your old tormentors will come to you with sincere regret as the legal process progresses and the full extent of their crimes becomes evident. They will describe how they were enlisted, how they were misled about your identity and mission, and how they fell for false information about you that allowed them to take part in your persecution. Others will only show remorse when they are sentenced to prison. Their pleas for forgiveness will be calculated rather than heartfelt, driven more by self-preservation than by a true awareness of the hurt they have caused, until their reputations have been ruined and their own families have rejected them for what they have done. Years of deceit have polished your spiritual skills, which will enable you to distinguish between genuine remorse and deliberate manipulation right away. You'll be able to determine who needs justice, who deserves forgiveness, who can be saved, and who must bear the full repercussions of their decisions. There will be 3 types of offenders. When you give with joy, heaven records it. Your seed in holy voices is eternal, Philippians 4 verse 17. Reluctant participants who were actually duped would be pardoned and given the chance to turn their lives around. Justice with a dash of kindness will be served to those who participated despite knowing better. The whole force of cosmic and legal repercussions will fall on those who planned and relished your misery. But they won't be the focus of your forgiveness. It will involve releasing yourself from the burden of their decisions. You will extend forgiveness because you deserve to be freed from the toxicity of unforgiveness, not because they deserve it. Even while their punishment is required for justice, your spiritual advancement is independent of it. Maybe the time may come when you'll be alone yourself in your renovated house. Maybe when you're reunited with relatives who never gave up looking. Maybe when you witness the first individual you assist in achieving their own independence. When you will be overcome by the enormity of your adventure. The child who was taken from their home and made to live under false pretenses will make you cry. You will weep for the young adult who was subjected to attacks without knowing why. You will weep for the lone survivor who endured betrayal after betrayal and held onto the hope that the truth would ultimately come to light. But more often than not, you will weep with thanks for a divine design that is so complex, so flawless, and so well-timed that every aspect of your persecution truly contributed to your eventual elevation. You'll discover how each adversary unintentionally contributed to your fate, how each assault turned into an advantage, how every setback served as a prelude to restoration beyond your wildest expectations. Tears will wash away decades' worth of stored suffering. The final traces of victim identification will be washed away by tears of sorrow over what was lost. Your emergence into strength and purpose will be celebrated with tears of pleasure for what was restored. The celestial forces who planned every aspect of your vindication will be acknowledged with tears of wonder at the divine accuracy. After drying your eyes, you will completely embrace your new identity and start the healing process that your life has been preparing you to do. The same awareness that exposed you to their attacks will make you incredibly successful at assisting others in identifying and avoiding similar scams. Recall how we started out with neighbors hastily erasing evidence of their misdeeds, making frantic phone calls, and destroying evidence. Now you know why their efforts were in vain from the start. They weren't merely throwing away copies. Decoys were being destroyed. They were never in possession of the actual proof. All the documents they believed to be safe had been duplicated. Everything they thought was private had been watched. All the meetings they thought were confidential had been videotaped. They weren't hiding their tracks when they destroyed the evidence you saw. They were the ones who removed the final obstacles to their conviction. They actually finished the chain of evidence that investigators required to substantiate accusations of destruction of justice in addition to all of their other offenses by destroying what they believed to be evidence. Throughout their conspiracy, redundant mechanisms for preserving evidence had been functioning concurrently. They never noticed local surveillance. They had no suspicion of federal surveillance. Spiritual records they never thought were feasible. In the world of law enforcement, your case will go down in legend. Not only because of the extent of the plot that was revealed, but also because of the flawless evidence preservation process that made prosecution unavoidable. Their convictions will serve as precedent for decades to come because every crime they committed was meticulously documented. You now realize the more profound reality. The last stage of evidence completeness was what appeared to be evidence destruction. Their final step into a trap that had been building for 30 years was what appeared to be their last attempt to evade justice. Home is always found by the chosen. Furthermore, home is never merely a location. In the end, no amount of human conspiracies can stop this goal, mission, or destiny. Greetings from your restoration. Greetings from your elevation. Greetings from the life you were destined to lead. Your neighbors believed that they might ruin you. Rather, they made you visible. The conflict is over. You prevailed. If this message touched your heart, don't leave without spreading the light. Click like so this wisdom can reach more souls searching for truth. Subscribe to Holy Voices so you never miss the next divine word prepared for you. And write your thoughts in the comments, your voice matters here. Until next time, keep walking in faith, keep growing in wisdom, and remember, the journey of the wise never ends.